Hello, today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2019. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. I'm joined today by my TC2 colleague, David Lee, and we're going to cover a pretty interesting and certainly a timely topic. In the enterprise space, we've seen a rapid proliferation and deployment of cloud-based apps and the use of cloud-based software as a service and UC applications like Skype for Business. This is the new normal for enterprises, and if you're responsible for this new environment, you know that optimizing the end user experience in your enterprise can be a significant challenge. There are so many new and interesting challenges that you'll be dealing with in this cloud environment that David and I have decided to make this a two-part podcast. This is part one, and what we're going to do on this podcast is take a closer look at the challenges and issues of optimizing the end user experience. Okay, David, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Joe. Glad to be here as always. The question for the CIO and CTO is, what are their end users' expectations for accessing all the enterprise applications, whether they reside in the traditional data center, a co-located data center, cloud-based application, or software as a service SaaS application, as you mentioned before. So today we're going to take a short tour of these challenges and what has changed or will soon change for the enterprise.
You know, this is an interesting issue for the CIOs and the CTOs of the world because, at least I contend, most end users, they probably don't know and maybe they don't care if the apps that they want to use are cloud-based. They just want them to work reliably each and every time. So, David, what does the overall landscape look like and what specific use cases are the CIO or the CTO trying to solve?
Right, Joe. You are so right on that point. Users are now expecting universal and simple access to these cloud or even traditional data center applications from any device, whether it be their mobile phone, their laptop, or if they're traveling in a hotel and using a tablet. It doesn't really matter. They want the same experience as if they're at home with 200 meg down or 1 gig down kind of connectivity and pervasiveness. In addition to all of the traditional typical end user devices, as I mentioned, there are Internet of Things or IoT devices and IoT gateways that potentially some of our clients are using or deploying or contemplating deploying more of those, which require reliable and pervasive connectivity. One of the key areas that will drive new applications to support end users to make this connectivity pervasive is 5G. And let me elaborate a little bit on 5G and our enterprise's perspective. To be clear, this is 5G that an enterprise can use, for the branch office, for the remote office, or for those users in that branch office. This is not simply an individual consumer obtaining a faster download or better resolution to view a movie on their mobile phone as a direct consumer kind of application. As we know, 5G promises significant bandwidth improvements. That's obvious. Where available, and that's the key question now, it's being deployed. But where available, 5G can be a great solution as there's no last mile access to cut with a backhoe or cut risers in a high-rise building in an urban environment. But like all new technologies, there will be issues that need to be addressed. For example, for 5G, when the wireless provider uses millimeter wave spectrum as part of their solution, there will be challenges with signal quality due to lack of millimeter wave signal ability to penetrate buildings. This will occur even with using massive MIMO. By that I mean hundreds. There's MIMO today with 4G LTE, but with 5G we're talking about hundreds of transmit and receive antennas. They're smaller, of course, to support dozens of end user devices, all right, in that neighborhood or in that part where they're trying to cover, and use beamforming phased array antenna technology. But for the fixed site, what we're talking about here, for the enterprise fixed remote site, the location is fixed in relation to the antenna beam, so the radio signal and antennas can be optimized to maintain a strong connection in case the enterprise or CIO listening here was thinking about that issue. There will be more devices such as IoT that we mentioned with everything accessing cloud services. So think about fundamentally this will change the way branches and end users connect with their applications, having the ubiquity of wireless but with the reliability and stability of a wireline connection. That's what 5G promises to do. And you've never really been able to do that in the same way with prior 4G technology.
Yeah, 5G, it is going to be a game changer. I've seen projections saying that as many as 50 billion new things are going to be connecting using 5G wireless access, and that it may happen just as quickly as the service providers can get their networks built. Now, a big issue for telcos, and I guess for the cloud service providers, is how do they scale the edge and the core of their networks to support all these new connections and presumably a significant increase in data flows. Now, I think many pundits believe that this is going to be a major driver for the use of network function virtualization, or NFV, and software-defined networking, but that is a topic for another podcast. Okay, David, how do you see this impacting the traffic dynamics across the enterprise?
Joe, that's a great question. As you said, there'll be tremendous amount of traffic pulling information from, as I said, traditional data center applications, colos, locations, cloud-based apps and databases all over the globe, quite honestly, depending where the user is and the type of applications. So with the traditional application architecture that we see from many enterprises today, the application and database information are typically centralized, right, somewhere, and the traffic flows in a straightforward hub and spoke manner. For example, most enterprises have a traditional network architecture that is based on MPLS or hub and spoke internet using IPsec or DMVPNs to encrypt the traffic on the internet for smaller offices, but it's still hub and spoke. Network and application visibility and control in this traditional network environment used to be well defined, given the tight boundaries of the legacy data center based applications and, of course, MPLS service as a private network service. So how do you accomplish? That's the key question. How do you accomplish this in a multi-cloud environment in terms of controlling and have visibility of your network traffic flows in this rapidly dynamic environment? The end users, remember, are still expecting low latency as if they're in the home network and universal pervasive access to any application regardless of where it is hosted. Just on a sidebar here, the analogy is that the enterprise's ability to control and have visibility today is similar to comparing the air traffic control system in the U.S. from the 1940s versus air traffic control technology today in 2019. And then, of course, you're adding future drone traffic, which is sort of like the unknown IoT traffic. I try to make this as a basic analogy. So many enterprises do not have a clear infrastructure or network management and cloud access strategy to support this new traffic dynamic and application architecture. And like with the air traffic control, clearly enterprise can't keep doing what they've done in the past and expect to have a successful outcome and meet their end users' expectations. They need to think differently and adopt a new approach for building and managing their network services and deliver the experience and end users have come to expect.
Okay, thanks, David. You've provided a lot of great information here today, so I appreciate it. Now, stay tuned for part 2 of this podcast series, where David and I will discuss the tools, the technologies, and the services that are available to optimize the end user experience using cloud exchange service providers as well as infrastructure management solutions. Before we end this podcast, let me plug the one-day conference that TC2 and LB3 will be hosting in New York City on Thursday, November 7th, which is just about 4 weeks away. At the conference, we'll be sharing our knowledge and experience to help you deliver innovation and cost savings to your company through infrastructure and network service deals. So hopefully, we will see you in New York. If you'd like to learn more about the conference or optimizing end user experience in your environment, or if you have other ICT lifecycle needs, you can contact David or me or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues by giving us a call or sending us an email. You can also stay current by checking out our new websites or follow us on LinkedIn.